At the heart of these riots is the spread of misinformation and anti-immigration sentiments fueled by social media postings. Social media is so prevalent these days that getting the facts on what is happening can be challenging. The consequences of getting it wrong can be dire, as we're now seeing in the UK. So for more on this, we've reached Imran Ahmed in Washington. He is the CEO of the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a non-profit organization. Imran, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure.
We've seen how things have really escalated very quickly in just a matter of days in the UK. So what role have social media platforms been playing in all of the unrest we've been seeing there?
Well, let's not forget these riots and the disorder in Britain kicked off after the tragic murder of 3 young girls by a 17-year-old boy. In the immediate aftermath, in the minutes, the hours after the attack by that attacker, in the moments when police were trying to work out what's going on, our ambulance services were trying to stabilize children who'd been stabbed. Some people decided deliberately to spread disinformation, saying that it was a Rwandan asylum seeker who had just been allowed into the country that had committed these attacks, that it was a Muslim asylum seeker. That wasn't true. And so the initial trigger for the violence, this spasm of violence that has crippled the United Kingdom in the last few days, was from disinformation. Subsequently, what we then saw was other people jumping on, both political actors and some really cynical political actors who sought to fan the disinformation, but also people like Elon Musk himself intervening in British politics to amplify and to give credibility to disinformation narratives. And what we see now is a wide array of people jumping on with their own agendas, whether it's anti-government protesters, it's the far right, it's anti-migration groups, or others who are using this opportunity to get visibility and to cause disorder in the United Kingdom.
All right, well, you mentioned Elon Musk. He said that civil war is inevitable. That's what you were referring to. And of course, as you mentioned, you say that's just fanning the flames here. But let's talk about the riots themselves. There's obviously some discontent in Britain. Can you speak to us about how deep and concerning it is?
Well, I think one of the things that we've all seen, have we not, in the last few years, is that what works on social media is actually negative campaigning rather than positive stuff. So what we're seeing is social media acting as a vector for bringing together people that have often quite unclear frustrations about the state of their country. And it may be about the state of their lives, it may be the state of their communities, it may be they feel that the country is going in the wrong direction, but bringing them together and making them feel as though they're in a community of people who reinforce each other's frustration with the government or whatever else it happens to be. And what we're seeing now is the cross-fertilization of extremisms, of people with an inchoate sense of anger towards their society being brought together and then being encouraged to believe that they're in the right and being given this freedom and the space and the time and the resources to organize, recruit, proselytize and mobilize towards violence.
So much information, whether accurate or inaccurate, it spreads very quickly on social media, across social media platforms. We've seen that, as you've been talking about, as we've been talking about as well, fueling these riots here in the UK. So what can possibly be done to control the spread of misinformation?
The truth is that it's fundamental to the business models of social media platforms. They actually make money by having eyeballs on them, and they've worked out the best way, the most mathematically, the best way for them to get eyeballs on their platforms is to highlight disinformation and hate and controversy, stuff that gets high emotional engagement, not from people who are agreeing necessarily, from people quite often who are saying, this is disgusting, this is dangerous, you can't speculate as to who did this in the minutes after an attack occurred, let the police do their job. But what they're doing by engaging with those people is actually amplifying them. So this perverse situation where lies get more visibility and the truth gets less. It means that social media is a topsy-turvy world for getting our information. And you're absolutely right. It has become one of the primary means by which we share information, we establish and negotiate what we believe to be facts about our society. And that's deeply problematic.
Imran, I want to ask you really quickly. Politicians like Nigel Farage are pushing the two-tier policing narrative, insisting that right-wing protests are dealt with more forcefully than those organized by the left. How dangerous is this rhetoric?
I mean, it's not just dangerous, it's nonsensical. The idea that police are generous and kind to minority Black and Asian people and come down harder on white people is counterfactual. And I say this as a 45-year-old man that grew up in Manchester in a neighbourhood in which we knew to be scared of the police. Because before the Macpherson reforms, after the murder of Stephen Lawrence, when the police had to reckon with the problem of racism, the endemic problem of racism within the police force, that simply is not true. And I think that this sense of grievance, this sense of victimhood that is promulgated by people like Nigel Farage, and we've seen it being pushed by people like Donald Trump as well, it is not just counterfactual, it's untrue, it's against the reality of what happened. It is an incredibly dangerous narrative. Because what you're doing is enabling, energizing, and validating the kinds of people that today are going out and attacking Black and minority-owned businesses in Britain, that are attacking their own communities, attacking the fabric of the nation itself, which is a nation built on liberalism, on democracy, inclusion, tolerance, and a celebration of the value that we each bring to that great endeavour that is the United Kingdom.
And we'll leave it there. Imran Ahmed, thank you so much for your time and your insight today. Imran Ahmed is the CEO of the nonprofit organization Center for Countering Digital Hate.